Quite a few people have been asking how to start a skincare business, so I thought I'd do this free little masterclass on YouTube. And if you need any further help or mentoring or anything like that, then you can find that on my Patreon. It's very minimal to subscribe monthly, and all the information is below. So let's get started. In this little masterclass, these are the things that I'm going to be covering. I will have timestamps down below so that you can easily find the things that you want to learn. Pause this if you want to have a quick look at what we're going to be covering. Now, I'm just going to be basically reading these slides to you and adding a bit more information. Hopefully this helps a lot of you. So congratulations on taking your first step to start your own skincare business. Starting a business can be a little daunting, but we'll take you through starting up step by step with links for where to find everything from ingredients and packaging to where to get your labels printed, to get cool DIY packaging tips, and to grow your business. This course is aimed mostly at those in the UK, but there may be quite a lot of information that's useful to others too. So feel free to follow this course through, as you'll want to know a lot of this before you start writing your business plan or get to action. So where do you start? You probably want to go straight to the fun stuff, but let's get a bit of the boring admin out the way first. Before you start any business, if you're serious about it, you need to write a business plan. This doesn't have to be some boring admin task, though. This is a chance for you to get all of your ideas on paper, create a mood board, and you can put that in it if you want to, or you can just keep it plain text. It needs to clearly show you and whoever you may ask for funding, if that's what you need to do, what your business does, why you do it, your unique selling point, who your target market is, and how you will run and grow your business. Within your business plan should be a financial plan. So create a budget for your personal expenses so that you know how much you need to earn from your business each month, and then create some financial forecasts to help you budget for the coming year and predict sales. The above is quite an in-depth subject, so I don't want to spend too much time on it here, but if you want to, you can find a business plan template and a financial forecasting template with instructions of how to do that on my website here. These are all set up, ready to go. You can fill them in. They've got prompts and explanations of everything, and they're just designed to save you time and stress. For more on business planning and all things cosmetic related, then like I said before, you can consider joining my Patreon, where I post business help and support and formulation guides and cosmetic recipes weekly, along with ongoing support via the community chat and the ability to message me anytime for help. Once you have your business and financial plans, you'll have an idea of how much money you're going to need. So raising funding. You do need some money to start this business, but you don't necessarily need a lot. The most expensive part of starting this kind of business is the CPSR, or Cosmetic Product Safety Report. This is required for every product that you sell, and it can get quite expensive if you get them done independently. However, there is an easy start solution if you want to go that route. Flexi CPSRs are designed to save you time and money. The formula is already tested and assessed as safe for use. It comes with a recipe and GMP information to follow, and a number of different colour and scent options so that you can mix and match to create a number of different products. These Flexi CPSRs cost a fraction of getting the same products assessed yourself. You can find them from various companies. A company I like to recommend is below. They're called Soap Rochford. They have a very good array of pre-assessed safety assessments and recipes for the most popular products. I am an affiliate of them, so if you click the link, I do earn a little from your purchase. It costs you nothing extra, but I only am an affiliate with companies I genuinely recommend, so that's why they're there. If you want to formulate your own products, however, you can obtain CPSRs by sending in your formulas to independent labs for assessments. I recommend some in my Where to Buy CPSRs video, which is also on my YouTube channel. So you can go and look there. I think there's also some recommendations in the comments too. That will be ones that other people recommend. Then you'll need some equipment to make your products. Depending on where you plan on working, then you may or may not need furniture, but in the equipment chapter is a list of all the items that you need to buy to start. Once you've costed this up, then you have an idea of how much money you're going to need. First, you need to see what you can afford to put in yourself. After that, look at friends and family, and I recommend that you only look at loans as a very last resort. Loan repayments can cripple a growing business, and it's a stress that you can do without. Ask me how I know. If you can only gather together so much, then make it work. Make a small batch and sell to friends and family. Reinvest to make a larger batch, and each time you scale up and buy something you need to grow. If you're under 30 and in the UK, then you can look at the Prince's Trust and other government grant schemes for new businesses. If it's your first business, then quite often you'll be eligible for a startup grant. A grant being money invested in your business for things like computers, printers, etc., that you do not have to pay back. It's well worth looking into. Just make sure you have your business plan handy. Name and logo. So this part is both fun and infuriating. So naming a business is really difficult, especially nowadays when so many names are gone. I'd suggest going to this website. This is the official UK Trademarks IPO website, and enter every name that you decide on to check that it isn't already being used. You'll thank me later. The last thing you want to do is put your branding on everything and then get a cease and desist notice. So here's my advice on picking a name. It's said that what you do should be identifiable in your brand name, but then that leaves you with loads of soap type names and bubbles type names, which is fine. They're nice names, but ask yourself if you want to stand out from the crowd or not. Yes, the answer should be yes. You'll want a logo too, something identifiable and unique to you. If you're artistic, then you can draw this yourself. If you need a little help, then sites like Canva have numerous templates that you can use and edit. If you want something a bit more unique, then you can find an independent designer via Google or social media, or find someone on a site such as Fiverr. Trademarking. So if you're serious about making something of your business, then you want to protect your brand. So a trademark is necessary. There is one place in the UK to officially apply and register a trademark. When you do this, you'll find that you get letters in the post and invoice demands from various other companies from abroad and in the UK, but please, please, please ignore them. They're all scams and your brand won't be protected. The reason you get these is because your trademark is listed for a time before it is granted, and anyone has access to that listing. So there are scammers that will look through these listings, find pending trademarks, and then target you specifically to try and get money. You will need to wait specifically for the government IPO letters and emails, and that is how you register your trademark. So follow their instructions and their instructions only, and make sure you're trademarking your name and your logo if you have one. The process of trademarking allows you to protect your brand name and logo in various categories. You will pay an initial fee plus extra per additional category that you want to register in. You can search the categories on the website when you register and then tick the ones you want. I'd advise to think ahead with this and try to future-proof your business. So, for example, you may want to only do bath products now via online sales, but later on you may want to do makeup or even accessories and apparel. So make sure you choose all that will apply, as you won't be able to change it later. So what type of business do you want? Do you want to be a sole trader or a limited company? As a sole trader, you're entitled to keep all of the profits from your business after taxes, but you personally will be liable for losses. Your accounts, however, will be fairly easy and just a self-assessment job reporting incomings and outgoings. As a limited company, you're a private-owned company. You as the owner are legally responsible for the company's debts, but only to the extent of the amount of capital you've invested. So you limit your personal exposure as a limited company. But be aware that there is more paperwork, and if you're limited, it's a good idea to hire an accountant to save you time and money. You will also need to go through an incorporation process, which costs a little money and provides you with a certificate. It's a good idea to become limited if you're growing or hiring staff. It also gives you a more professional look to your business. Trading standards. So these are the go-to for cosmetic makers in the UK. They basically police it in your area to make sure that you're doing things correctly and safely, because they protect the consumer. Often you can just send them an email and say that you intend to manufacture cosmetics, and that's it. Sometimes they'll want to visit your premises and ask questions. It really depends on how they operate in your area. As long as you have your GMP in place, I'll explain a bit more about that later, you can show them the correct documents, then there is really nothing to worry about. They'll even sometimes calibrate your scales for you and answer any questions. It's important to let them know that you're manufacturing cosmetic products. It's absolutely nothing to be scared about telling them. They are extremely helpful and can be a great place to ask questions if you're confused about anything. Next, you need to decide where to work. Will you be working from home to start with, or do you have access to affordable premises from the beginning? My advice is to start small and grow organically. Stretching yourself too much in the beginning can lead to a big crash later, even if you feel that you can afford it. I see so many Tik Tok success businesses start up and get premises within about 6 months, but they don't yet have the business experience to go with this. It's a massive learning curve, and the whole business is based on going viral on social media. You need to take a step back, learn about running a business and what's needed to operate from premises. There is signage and there are things like that that you need to legally do for health and safety, especially if you hire staff. Consider if social media disappeared overnight. What do you know about business to keep you afloat? Starting from home, if you have the space, gives you the opportunity to save money and reinvest it in your business. Learn what you need to learn in order to make the leap into premises rental later. Making cosmetics from home, you need a dedicated space and you need to keep it clean and free from children and pets. This includes where you store your ingredients and products off the floor. If you need to use a fridge to cool products, then this must be away from food, so I recommend getting a dedicated one in your working area. Also, remember that this will be your address that needs to go on your containers at the responsible person and for taking returns. So if you're not happy with your home address being on your products for all to see, then you will need to look at premises. This is non-negotiable, unfortunately. Insurance. This is important. Do not forget this and do not risk going without it. It's more affordable than you think. You just need to make sure that it covers you correctly. You need public and products liability to cover your stock. Be aware, though, that getting stock covered if you work from home can be difficult unless you have key lock windows. This is just a heads up from someone who knows from past experience. Insurance for small businesses can be found from a broker such as InSync, not the band, or from highly recommended Ian Wallace. This is craftinsurance.co.uk, and they specialise in crafters insurance. My tip for getting watertight insurance policies is to have them list all of the products that you sell and are likely to sell. Do not let there be any ambiguity. Keep your insurance valid by ensuring that you keep all the documentation you are legally obliged to with regard to your products, making your products as per GMP, explain later, and correctly labelling your products as you know how to label them. Invest in equipment. Suggested equipment needing to start up? Well, a quick Google search can find you most of these, and they will also be available on Amazon. I do have an Amazon storefront linked in the video description with some of the stuff that I use if you want to find it easily. Recommendations for starting up would be a steel lab table. It just helps to keep your workspace very clean. You really don't want to be working on a wooden surface or anything like that because you just can't clean it properly with all the wood grain, etc. A stand mixer of some description, Heska, is always recommended by makers that I see. A handheld mixer, beakers, mixing bowl, spatulas, trade-approved scales. I'll get onto those in a minute. Jars and pots for putting all your products in. Product labels, a computer, a thermal label printer, and a laser printer if you want to be making your own labels. Trade-approved scales, as I just mentioned, are something that you have to sell your products legally. You need to ensure that all ingredients are correctly weighed and that the end product is the weight stated on the container. To do this, you need trade-approved scales. These are accurate scales that have been professionally calibrated to weigh exact measures. These can be quite expensive, but there are ways to do this to make it less so. You'll likely need something that weighs between 2 kilos and 0.01 grams. To get a scale that does this in these measures in that expanse is expensive. So it's often advised, if on a budget, purchase yourself a scale that does 2 kilos to 0.5 grams, and then use a smaller pocket jewellery scale to measure the lighter ingredients such as mica and pigments. You can get both of these from trade-approved scales companies. You are looking for scales that are marketed as trade-approved from a reputable supplier. So the scales should have an M on them and the CE mark, and ideally come with a calibration certificate. The scales will need to be calibrated yearly or as advised by the supplier. If Trading Standards pay you a visit, then they'll usually do this for you. To find trade-approved scales, I recommend going to oneway.co.uk. There's also countyscales.co.uk and weighing-net.co.uk. Invest in ingredients. Decide on 1 or 2 products to make in the beginning and buy small amounts of those ingredients. Remember, ingredients have use-by dates, and therefore you don't want to be bulk buying in the beginning, as this leads to wasting ingredients and wasting money. And let me tell you, getting rid of wasted, out-of-date ingredients can be difficult, especially if they're hazardous. Increase your purchase amounts as you grow, and you'll see this is much more cost-effective. Set yourself a budget and stick to it, and have a good idea of what you're happy to spend on perfecting your recipes, and then the kind of margins you will be able to get when you start selling. If you have a purchase of a Flexi CPSR, then those companies will have all the ingredients you need. And for unique formulations, there are plenty of suppliers available. I've included a list at the end of this masterclass. GMP. So this stands for Good Manufacturing Practice. Before you start making your products, you need to write a GMP statement for your business. These are the manufacturing, storage, and safety practices that you have in place for your business to ensure a clean, hygienic, safe workspace. It details how you store your products, how you dispose of waste, etc. It's not a requirement to hold this, but I would highly recommend getting your own copy of the ISO 22716/2007, which is the international standard for the good manufacturing practice for cosmetics. It provides guidance in documenting and regulating the production, control, storage, and shipment of cosmetic products. You can purchase a copy in your name here from the ISO.org. If you're unsure how to write one of these statements, then I do have an example of this in my PIF template, which is available here on my website. You must not copy mine, but instead use it as a framework for what you need to write in yours. Obviously, your premises and working practices will be different, so make it your own. Calculating your formulas. So if you're stuck on how to convert batches from percentages into grams and vice versa, then I do have a downloadable Excel calculator that you can get from the link below. It converts grams into percent and percent into grams by batch size. It's really handy if you want to work batch recipes out quickly. This also helps if you need a lower amount of fragrance according to the IFRA than the recipe states. It will recalculate your percentages for your PIF based on the new fragrance gram weight. You don't need to adjust the amounts of the other ingredients. Cleaning, sterilizing, and sanitization. You need to make sure that during your manufacturing processes, you aren't introducing bacteria to the equipment that you're using or the products that you're making. Buy yourself some gloves, an apron, and a face mask, a hairnet too if you have long hair. Also, some 70% or 99% isopropyl alcohol. I say 70% as although 99% sounds like it would be stronger and do a better job, it evaporates a lot quicker. And therefore, some people say that it doesn't have enough time to work. I don't know the science behind that. Make up your own mind. Either one will sanitize your equipment. Before I make anything, I spray down the work surface with the isopropyl along with all of my equipment and end containers. After I've made my products, I'll put all my used bowls, etc., in a dedicated washing up bowl and wash in hot soapy water, much like you do your normal washing up. Use a dedicated sponge and bowl for this though, not the ones you wash food stuff with. Once you've done this, you can rinse in distilled water and leave to air dry. Why distilled water? Well, it's purified and it's free from bacteria. You can get distilled water in most supermarkets and DIY stores. I should mention, when you're washing the stuff first in hot soapy water, that doesn't need to be distilled, but when you're rinsing it off, it really should be. We leave to air dry to avoid any cloth fibres getting on our equipment and then again in our final products. Once dry, you can go ahead and sanitize with your isopropyl, wait to dry and put away. I like to use an airtight container to keep them clean and hygienic, ready to use. I do, however, do an extra step for my own sanity. I think it's good practice and it will ensure that your equipment is as clean as it possibly can be. I use Milton sterilizing tablets. I'm sure there'll be a different brand in whatever country you're in a washing up bowl of distilled water and allow my equipment to sterilize in there for around 15 to 20 minutes or whatever your manufacturer recommends. I then rinse in distilled water, but you don't need to rinse, and leave to dry before spraying with isopropyl again, allowing to evaporate off and then putting away. So, all these documents, technical documents look really daunting, but you need to be keeping all of them for every ingredient that you purchase for your products. They must be the ones that your ingredient supplier provides, and you must check for updates to these regularly so that you can always keep the up-to-date versions. These documents will be kept in your PIF, which I'll explain later, and contain all the information about that ingredient in terms of specification and safety. If a customer were to have an allergic reaction to one of your products, then trading standards or another official body may request these, as well as emergency services in a rare event that someone may have ingested the product or got it in their eye. The MSDS is the Material Safety Data Sheet, sometimes referred to as an SDS. This is the main document that you will need. It contains information on the safety of the ingredient when undiluted in a product. It gives advisories on safe use and will provide you with the INCI name for the product. This can sometimes look really scary with their pictograms, etc. But remember, it's in its undiluted form. Google the MSDS for sand. It looks really scary, but we all go to the beach. The COA is the Certificate of Analysis. This isn't always available for every ingredient, and when it is, it's usually per batch. It contains information on the composition and purity of that batch. The IFRA, or IFRA, is the International Fragrance Association. This document gives you a table of the information about the fragrance it relates to, a bit like the MSDS, but includes a table of max allowed usage rates dependent on the product type. Look down the table to find your product type, and the number associated with that product type will relate to a max percentage. You must not use over that maximum in your product. There are some exceptions to this, including cold processed soap, where the absolute maximum in the UK is 3%, no matter what the IFRA says. Obviously, if the IFRA is less than that, use less, but you must never go above 3, even if the IFRA is higher. You will find that rinse-off products often have a higher max usage level in general, as their content with the skin is minimal and usually diluted with water in a shower or bath, with the exception of the cold processed soap. Regardless of this max usage level, if your recipe formula states a lower percentage, follow the recipe. It will be at that percentage for a reason. Allergen documents advise of the level of known allergens in the ingredient. Usually you will get one of these with a fragrance oil or within its MSDS or IFRA document. Any allergens at 0.01% or over must be listed on the label. Usually your CPSR will come back to you with the allergens listed for you to copy. This sometimes varies dependent on whether the product is leave-on or rinse-off due to the time frame of skin contact. You do not just take the amount shown on the allergen doc, however, as this is the percentage in the neat fragrance oil. You need to calculate the amount of allergen in your product based on the amount of fragrance oil that you used. If you're not confident doing this yourself, then I have a calculator to help here. Note there may be more allergens being added to the EU list within the next 2 years. And I should note any allergens present at 0.01% on leave-on products must be listed on the label, and any allergens at 0.1% on rinse-off products must be listed on the label. Batch records should be kept of all ingredients that you buy and for your finished product. This is so that if a customer has an issue with a product, you can quickly identify when the ingredients were purchased and their expiry dates, etc. Set up an Excel spreadsheet for your product batches with product name, product code, batch number, ingredients used and their batch numbers and supplier details, the date you made the product and any notes. The product code is the product's formula identifier. Unlike a batch code, this stays the same for each product unless you change the formula or ingredient or supplier. So, for example, for a whipped soap, you may go with WS001. If an ingredient is later discontinued and the formula has to change or the supplier is different, then you would need to go to a new product code and you'd make it WS002. This would trigger a new PIF, a new CPSR, and update and reporting to the SNCP, which is the Cosmetic portal, which I'll explain later. The batch number is what you put on the label of your product. This would change each time you make a new batch of the product. Responsible person. So to sell cosmetics in the UK and EU, you need what is called a responsible person. This is someone who keeps the PIF and reports the products to the cosmetic portal and takes responsibility if there are any issues with the product. They must supply all documentation when requested, have insurance in place, and take legal responsibility. The responsible person is named on your product label. This can be a company name rather than your own name, so long as you have a person's name associated in the documentation elsewhere. Without a responsible person, you cannot sell your products. This is why, since leaving the EU, UK cosmetic businesses cannot sell to the EU without first appointing an EU resident or company as the responsible person on their behalf. This also involves submitting your products to the EU cosmetic portal, which is different and more complex than ours. Getting a CPSR. So, of everything, this is the most costly and most important thing that you need in order to sell cosmetics in the UK. A CPSR is a cosmetic product safety report, often referred to as a safety assessment. It's an assessment of your product formula's safety to pass it as fit for purpose. To do this, you need to send a lab details of your product information and any variations on it, such as fragrance or colours, and details of the stability testing that you've done. More on that next. They do not need your actual product to do this. Once your product is deemed safe, after they have analysed the formula, you will be issued your CPSR. This is a legal document in your name and should not be shared with or viewed by anyone other than yourself. If a customer asks to see proof of you holding one, then you may show them the cover page with your details only. No information about the formula or assessment process must be shared unless expressly asked for by trading standards or an official. CPSRs can be extremely expensive. Often you will want to make multiple products in multiple colours and fragrances, but each variant needs its own assessment. Each one of these costs money. Once you have a range of 10 products, you're looking at £200 to £1,000 minimum to have your range assessed at most labs. That's where flexi assessments come in, created by small suppliers like I mentioned earlier, to make things easier and more affordable for small business makers and hobbyists. Stability testing. So, stability testing is something that you need to do yourself to determine the shelf life of your product. If you've purchased a Flexi CPSR, this would already have been done, so check the CPSR for the shelf life recommendation. You can pay a lab to do this for you within a quicker time frame, but it's fairly simple to perform these tests yourself. There are a couple of ways to do this when not paying a lab. One, you can observe your product at room temperature in real time. Take note of changes in texture, colour and smell. Your use by or period after opening will be determined by the point in time it goes bad, or if you reach 12 months and it's still as expected. The freeze-thaw method is another way. This is used to determine how the product reacts at extreme temperature changes. The idea is to mimic possible transport conditions. You freeze the product fully in its final container, then thaw completely at room temperature. Do this 3 times, and if the product is still stable, then you can use a shelf life of 6 months. You can only perform this full test once. Doing it twice will not give you a 12-month shelf life. If you're doing this in a lab, they would also have an incubation stage, but that isn't always something that we're able to do safely at home. So I've been told by labs that just freezing and thawing at room temperature is sufficient. Like we've said above, this is just useful to know information if you are creating your own products for your own CPSRs. If you are purchasing a Flexi CPSR, then this would have been performed on the recipe already and a shelf life given in the CPSR ready for you to use. However, it's good to keep a sample of each batch yourself to observe so that you can be confident in the shelf life of your products when you make them. Designing your packaging and where to buy. So packaging needs to be eye-catching to stand out from the crowd. This can be done with interesting looking containers, making them eco-friendly, or with specially designed labels. Note that if you're making a whip soap which is used in the bathroom, hands will be wet and products can slip from hands and drop. For this reason, I wouldn't recommend glass jars for your soaps, as they would be safety concerns. Also, sadly, eco-containers won't stand up to the wet environment and will biodegrade too quickly, so you are looking at plastic. However, clear PET plastic is widely recycled and allows you to show off the beautiful colours in your product. You can also purchase rPET, which is made from a percentage of recycled plastic and is also recyclable. There are jars made from sugarcane plastic. These would need to be tested with your product for stability, but offer an eco-friendly solution. They are, however, quite a bit more expensive, so there are ways to reduce your environmental impact if you want to. You can purchase jars from your products for your products from sites such as Ampoula, Ideon, and iBottles. Then there's labels. The best way to do this is to use a web app like Canva and design them there. You can measure your jars and find a size and shape that you like, whether you want to have this on the lid or on the jar itself. Canva has a lot of templates ready-made, or you can get creative yourself. The other option would be to ask someone. You can find inexpensive designers on fiverr.com who design for you. And then you can go to avery.co.uk. There's also online labels, I believe, who work in a similar way. And they offer blank labels in various shapes and sizes to print on yourself using their designs or designing yourself. I'd suggest the clear and waterproof ones, and you'll need a laser printer to print on them. Recommendations will be in the equipment chapter. Because laser isn't ink, it won't run when wet, but it isn't necessarily scratch resistant, so you may find you need to place another clear label over the top to protect it. You can also get them printed by Avery for an additional cost. And don't forget to add the label cost onto your final product cost. So how to write a product label? Well, note that the below refers to the UK EU requirements which are correct at time of writing in July 2023. See our example label next of what to include and how, but you need your product name, which is your brand name or name for your product identifier, e.g. what it is, such as a whip soap, a body butter, a lotion, etc. Ingredients need to be listed in order of percentage, highest first, including allergen information, which will be found in the CPSR. How to use the product. Any extra information or instructions, such as not suitable for children under 3 years old, discontinue use if irritation occurs, etc. Your responsible person details, which will be your company name, address, and website address. The weight. Net weight means the weight of the product less container weight. The E means approximate, and we list in grams, although adding fluid ounces is good practice, especially if you are selling to other countries. The PAO symbol means period after opening, as per your CPSR and stability test results. You'll need a batch number, and then any other symbols such as the PETA logo, but note that these must be licensed and paid for before you can use them. So here's an example of a very roughly designed label for a strawberry body butter, where you can see I've put all of those things in place. So a note on using licensed logos. Not everyone realises this, especially when they're buying in products from other countries. Not all the logos that you see on cosmetic labels are free to use. Each logo, even the well-recognised recyclable logo, cannot be used without paying a licence with the company that owns them. There are a few logos that you can use. Most companies will use the PETA logo as it's the most affordable, but if you can stretch to the Leaping Bunny, then it's the most well-respected vegan cruelty-free logo, as they have a stricter process. PETA is the most affordable option, which is why you'll see most indie makers use this when starting out, and it is a good option. However, PETA aren't as strict with their approval process as the others, which means that it's not quite as trusted by some people. PETA require you to fill out a form with proof of suppliers and supplier cruelty-free statements. You will also need to fill a form about your company and pay a one-time license fee of around $350. However, they don't perform further checks, and so companies are expected to ensure their standards thereafter. If your company is vegan as well as cruelty-free, then this is a different logo to prove that you do not use animal-derived ingredients. Cruelty-free International Leaping Bunny. This is the UK/EU version of the CCIC Leaping Bunny and requires proof that both your company, any parent companies, and suppliers do not test on animals, do not use animal-derived ingredients either. They conduct independent audits to ensure that companies using the logo are complying with the above. You will need to recommit to their terms on a timed basis. They do allow sales of your products in China under the China Pilot Project. Applying is free, and licensing the logo is priced based on your gross sales. Writing a PIF. So this seems like a daunting task when it's expected of every single product that you sell and you've never done one before. However, it is necessary and non-negotiable. If trading standards ask to see your PIF, then you must be able to produce it on demand or risk a hefty fine. A PIF should be kept on premises at which you manufacture your products. You may keep copies elsewhere, but you should always keep one here. PIF stands for Product Information File and contains all of the information about your product. The main sections of which are as follows: your CPSR, all of your technical documents, your GMP statement, a label mock-up, product images, proof of claim defect. Unless you've done claims testing, this will just be that it is a cosmetic product. A no animal testing declaration, and then your manufacturing process. This is your formula, recipe, and method. Product and packaging specification, stability testing data, micro testing data, if applicable. This would be for aqueous products. Batch records, any contraindications and complaints logged. If you really want help writing a PIF, then I have created a template which is available from the link below, and that has prompts and explanations of how to fill it in. Once you've done it for one product, you'll find it so easy for all the rest. So it's really nothing to worry about. I've also done a video explaining about PIFs in more detail, which you can also find on my YouTube channel. Submit your products to the SCPN. The SCPN is the UK government cosmetics portal. Since Brexit, we now have our own. So this is only for submitting products being sold in the UK. It stands for Submit Cosmetic Product Notification. First, go to this link and sign up. It's free to sign up and to use. Once you've signed up, you'll be able to add your products. It's a fairly simple process of ticking boxes that apply. At the end, you'll have a chance to verify all the details before submitting. Before you start, make sure that you have some product and clear label images ready in one file to upload, and take note of your ingredients and their INCI names and CAS numbers. These will be on the MSDS sheets. This is the ingredients list of the products and their percentages. You will see on the portal that you can list an exact concentration or in ranges. If you use cosmetic bases, you'll find that the brands will list in ranges to protect their formulas. So you can select the percentage ranges and just include those and your additions. It seems a lot at first, but once you know the process and have your documents ready, you can really whiz through it in no time. I will try and do a video showing the process for an example product at some point soon. You only need to upload your product once per product code. Remember, we talked about product codes earlier. A product code relates to the product made with a specific formula, not the batch. So unless the formula or ingredients change, you'll only need to upload the product once. The only exception to this is if you intend to sell your product's white label, in which case for each product that you create in your white label customer's brand, you must upload to the portal again in their branding. I'll put more on this in white label and wholesale information later. How to price your products. So this point always gets me. I see so many businesses undercharging for their products. It takes time, space, equipment, electricity, water, and money on ingredients to make these products. And yet I see people selling them for literally £1 more than it costs them to make them because they see Joe Blogs over there at their local market charging just £4, so they feel they have to too. No. Charge what your product is worth. Think about the value you're giving your customer. What's the perceived value? If you walk past two market stalls, both selling the same formula of whip soap in the same colour and weight, but one is selling them in a scruffy, unlabelled takeaway sauce pot for $3.95, and the other is selling in a clean, clear PET pot with a beautifully designed label for $9.99, then you'll find some customers will go for the cheap and cheerful option, and others will see value in the other product. It really depends on your customer and finding the people that your product resonates with. That's not to say that you can't be cheap and cheerful, because every type of product has its place. You need to find your own USP and how you want your products to be, and find your ideal price point and margin. The cheap and cheerful option is fine if you are happy to do this as a hobby and make very little or even a loss after paying for your market stall, etc. But if you want to be serious about your business and cosmetic making, then you need to do your sums. So where do we begin? Well, first you need to be costing up your ingredients. Make this easy for yourself and create a little Excel table like this. You can have your supplier information, the total weight that you purchase it at, the price per gram, which is just dividing your main weight by the price, and then the total amount in your product. So if you've got 30 grams of an ingredient in your product, times the 30 grams by the cost per gram to get the amount it costs you for that one product. I go into this in more detail in my product pricing video, which is also on YouTube. So once you have this table, then you can times the gram amount by the number of grams of that ingredient in your recipe, then divide that by the number of finished pots you got from it. This gives you your total cost price per unit. Let's say it's £2. Then you want to add the cost of the container and label. Let's say that comes to £1, just to make it simple. So your product now costs £3 to make. But what about the time it took you to make that batch, the electric used? How much do you want to be earning per hour? Time how long it takes you to make a batch. Give each hour an hourly rate, and then divide that total by the number of pots. Let's say you make 6 pots at a cost of £3 each to make. You want a £10 hourly wage, and it takes you 1 hour to make this batch, including washing up afterwards. So £10 divided 6 pots equals £1.60 cost in time to make. £3 per pot plus £1.60 per pot to make equals £4.60. Already, the person selling for £4 a pot is at a loss. However, they're probably making theirs less expensively. How? Economies of scale. This basically means that the more you buy of an ingredient and the larger the batch you make at a time, the less expensive it becomes to produce. Buying in bulk is often cheaper by the gram, and the time it takes you to produce 100 pots is comparatively less per pot than having to set up, mix, and clean down for just 6. So do your sums before you get going. After adding your hourly wage calculation, I'd advise going for a profit margin of no less than 30%. But ideally, you want to be aiming for between 40% and 60%, higher if you can manage it. The 30% rule is so that you can comfortably account for your business's fixed costs and still retain some profit. But that will depend on your fixed costs. £4.60 plus 30% profit margin gives you a retail price of £5.98. To give you an idea of selling prices, I see prices of whip soap vary up to $15.99 for a 250 milliliter jar. So price where you feel comfortable, and remember to leave room for a profitable wholesale price within the retail price if you want to go that route. For more help on product pricing, I have a video on my YouTube channel, and I also created an Excel calculator to help with it there. There's also some software, and there's a free trial link below for Crafty Base. That not only helps you keep on top of your inventory, but it helps loads with product pricing, including your hourly wage and things like that. So you could check that out as well. There's a few options for shipping, but here's what I personally recommend. First, remember that this is your brand and you cannot afford to be replacing lost and damaged items constantly. So as tempting as it may be, avoid the cheap and cheerful couriers. I can assure you that your customers won't be cheerful, and it can reflect badly on your brand, especially when you're starting out. Royal Mail in the UK is the obvious first choice. I think in the US it would be USPS. They're great for small parcels. Always send tracked or signed for. You can either charge the actual cost for this at checkout or charge less or free shipping and incorporate the cost in your product price. There is no such thing as free shipping. However you do it, make sure that the actual shipping cost plus around 12% is covered by the customer for your shipping costs and packaging costs. One of the fastest ways to lose money is to undercharge on shipping, so just don't do it. To use Royal Mail in the beginning, you can use the Click and Drop app. This can integrate with Shopify and various other stores so that your orders feed into it. I think Shopify also have Shopify shipping. I have a free trial for Shopify below if you want to set that up. If you set your product weights correctly in Shopify, it'll feed those over, so you don't need to weigh each package when you do your shipping. To add weights on your website, make sure that you make each one a little higher than its actual weight. Add the weight of the packaging, else it will be inaccurate and the customer will get an unpaid postage notice, and you don't want this, obviously. Once you get your orders to a certain level, you can upgrade to a business account with Royal Mail to benefit from 30-day billing and discounts on postage. Then there are couriers for heavier items, or just in general if you can get a good deal. Getting a courier account usually involves having a minimum volume of order that you send out each week. So until such time as you meet those requirements, I'd recommend a service like Parcel Monkey or Parcel to Go. I think possibly Pirate Ship in the US. Parcel Monkey or Parcel to Go are basically shipping brokers. They get the best rates from local couriers and then offer them to you for booking through their site. As far as I'm aware, these don't integrate with websites, but by the time you watch this, that may not be true. So do your own research. If you want something that integrates, I believe that ShipStation has now come to the UK. It feeds real-time courier prices to your shipping, so customers can select the shipping via the ShipStation options. The downside with this is that sometimes it can be inaccurate and charge the customer differently. So I'd do some reading up on what you see and what shipping options work best for you. For packaging, there are many options. So here are some of my favourites. Just pick what suits your brand and budget. On eBay, there's plenty of coloured postage boxes and shredded paper. Kite Packaging in the UK has very sturdy boxes and lots of eco options. Polybags has biodegradable grip seal bags and eco packaging options. Happy Pack Official do lots of colourful mailers and boxes. No Issue, both in the UK and I believe the US, do eco packaging, tape mailers, and printed tissue paper, and they can customise. Then I suggest sealing jars with shrink bands or electrical tape to prevent leakage. Then post in a sturdy cardboard box with eco packaging, either eco peanuts or shredded paper, so that it can't move about in transit. Fancy packaging on a budget. Well, everyone wants fancy packaging, and it's really tempting when you first start out. But if you can't afford all the fancy printed tissue paper and boxes that everyone seems to have, then that's fine. At this point, save all the money you can and drive it back into your business. For embossed box printing, what you can do is buy an embossing ink pad, embossing powder, and then get a stamp made. You can then stamp the embossing ink onto your box or tissue paper, cover it with the embossing powder, and then use a heat gun, which essentially melts it onto the embossing ink. And then it just looks like nice metallic shimmery embossing. It looks great, and it's much cheaper than having it made. I use stampit.co.uk and Amazon to get my stamp and embossing supplies. Same goes for printed tissue paper. Get yourself some plain tissue paper, a stamp, and some coloured ink, and you have, with a little bit of effort, some printed tissue paper. If you have enough budget for a thermal printer, then investing in one of these, usually around £300, is a great long-term saving. You can print all of your postage labels on it, but you can also use it to make your own stickers. Although they will be black and white, you can get some really nice coloured stickers to print on. Design them in Canva, then buy the plain sticker rolls from Amazon or stationery companies, and then print them yourself. These will only be printed in black though, so if you want colour stickers and labels, get yourself a colour laser if you can afford to, and then you can print everything there direct from a site like Avery or Online Labels. I always struggled with taking photos until fairly recently, so here is what I've learned. First off, product photos should be kept to your website and be few and far between on social media. I'm 100% guilty of posting product after product because I didn't know what else to post and I was proud of what I made. But as a customer, I admit I too get bored of seeing them. People scrolling through social media want to see behind the scenes, how your products are made, orders being packaged, and you. They want to know the brand before they get to know your products. So before we go off on a social media tangent, back to the product photos. Product photos are the only way that online shoppers can see your product, so they need to be good. You don't need any fancy equipment. A phone will do. A phone is usually way better than cameras nowadays, but feel free to invest in a DSLR and a nifty 50 lens if you can find them. These things will allow you to take really good product photos with that lovely blurred background. Types of photos I like to take are a full product shot, a close-up shot, a lid-off shot, an in-use shot, so jar in hand or use the product on your skin, in a bathroom environment or a dressing table, with other products of its type, and with relevant props to show size and scale. Good product shots are 100% dependent on lighting. It really doesn't matter if you have an expensive camera or a phone. You can still take some amazing shots, so here's some tricks to try. If you have a DSLR, set the ISO so that when you take a photo, it comes out pitch black. What you've done here is to remove all the light from the situation. Now you can add it back in, but on your terms. If you have remote flash bulbs, then use those. If not, then use some bright lamps. Soften the light coming from them by using greaseproof or baking paper or tracing paper taped to some old picture frames or something similar. Stand those up in front of the lamps and simply move the lamps around and try taking photos. If they're still too dark, just adjust the ISO up gradually. By doing the above, you should get some beautifully, softly lit product photos that avoid harsh shadows. If you just have a phone camera, then I would suggest the above, but since you don't have an ISO setting to play with, make the room dark to create this and then set up your own lighting. Be creative with your images. Use brand colours within them, whether that is backdrops or props. For whipped soap jars, for example, then water is a great asset in photos. You could try the fake beach scene by laying a clear tray over some sand, pour some shallow water into it, place your product label up in the water. You can use a bit of blue tack to secure it, and ask someone to use a hairdryer from a distance to blow ripples in the water. Take a burst of photos like this, and it should look like it's in a lovely beach pool as the light reflects the ripples. You can also use a mirror on a sunny day, laying on the ground, reflecting the sky. Lay your products on the mirror and shoot from an angle so that you're not reflected in it. And just remember, with photography, it's all about lighting. Videos. Chances are the reason that you found this ebook and are reading it now, or watching this masterclass, is because of TikTok or an Instagram video, or you just found this on YouTube. Videos are always more interesting than photos, and if you can manage to put one on your website product page, then do. The same rules apply for lighting as with photos, and here are some cool product video ideas, but try and think of some of your own to be truly different. So piping ASMR. Old faithful, it works if it's done well, but I've seen others get no views at all. It's very much a trend at the time of writing this, and it may fall out of favour at some point soon, but it's still a good addition. Just pipe 1 jar of whipped soap or body butter close up to the camera so that the sound can be heard. The filling thing is just something that we did, but you don't have to do that. The tip would be to show the finished product. Filling jars, piping, but on a mass production scale is good as well. Show people your business behind the scenes. Labelling products. Show designing, printing and labelling your products. Packaging orders. This is especially good for your product page to show what customers can expect to receive, but also great for social media. If someone comments that they ordered and then they try to find their order and reply to that comment with a video of you packing it, they love that. You could also do using your product, washing hands, back of your shoulder in the shower, unless you're feeling extra confident, your leg in the bath. Making the product, obviously don't give out the recipe or measurements to anything you're selling, or ingredient names, but you can show adding them to a bowl and whisking them up, and this may also come under ASMR. Do a workspace tour. If you've got a market stall, do a little mini vlog. If you sell at fairs, then you'll video some of your day. Do a day in the life. Cut together little clips of your day. What I do. Edit together images to change in time with a trending piece of music on social media with the title What We Do. Questions and answers. Answer common product questions with a talking video or photos and text video. Hopefully there's enough there to get you started. Next, you'll want a website. I do like to recommend Shopify. I do use it, and it is so user-friendly to small new businesses and growing businesses, as it's affordable And it also has loads of opportunities to add apps and edit it yourself for total customization. And it makes that lovely ka-ching sound when you make a sale. Don't pretend you don't want that. To set up a website, you'll need a domain name. So hopefully you've already picked and trademarked your company name. The easiest way to buy and connect a domain is to get a Shopify site and buy the domain through them. It just takes the hassle out of it. That way, it's the least techie it can be if you aren't that great with computers. Once that's set up, then it's all pretty self-explanatory. I won't make this a Shopify website building guide, as that's not what I'm here for. But there are some things you need to be doing for cosmetic best-selling practices legally and for the best chance of being found online. I'll explain those shortly. You can get a free trial of Shopify if you click the link below. And also that image there is the thumbnail for a video I did earlier, which takes you through setting up a Shopify store. So I recommend you watch that if that's something you want to do. So although it's not a legal requirement, unless your product is too small to include the information on the label and therefore include the book symbol to refer people to the website, it is good practice to include everything that is on your product label in your product description. Pay special attention to the ingredients list and allergens. Customers should always have the opportunity to check if they might be allergic to a product prior to purchase. So how do you write a good description to convert those viewings of your product into buyers? Well, here's a simple structure of a good product description format for a whipped soap. Describe the problem the customer has, e.g., they may find it difficult to find a soap that doesn't dry their skin, or find scents that they like, or they're bored of ordinary bar soaps and shower gels. Make that situation worse. What if they didn't purchase your product? So don't be destined to a life of boring soap bars, dry skin, and dull showers. How will buying your product help them solve that problem? Whipped soap is somewhere between a soap and a shower gel, but it's packed with more beneficial oils to moisturize the skin. Side note, using the term moisturize or moisturizing is fine, but be careful not to claim any medical effect or cure, as this is sold purely as a cosmetic product unless you undergo case studies and testing for any claims you make. Moisturizing is a general term and therefore okay to use. I also realise I am using whipped soap as an example quite a lot, but this was originally written as a whipped soap ebook and I have adapted it for all skincare, so that is why. How will buying your product make them feel? E.g., your skin will thank you. You'll waft beautiful fruity scents everywhere you go, and bath time will never be boring again with this silky soft, whipped, creamy textured soap. Obviously, you can do better than I've just done there. Bullet point list. Take these from your label information. Use bullet points so it's clear and easy and quick to read. So you want weight of product, scent of product. Is it suitable for vegans? Do not write cruelty-free. You cannot write that on products. It's just a given because it's just a given. You can't write that on things. Don't write vegan. Write suitable for vegan or vegan friendly. It's all about how you word things. Then you can write any other point you want the customer to know about the product. Also, please avoid free from comments. A lot of these are based on misinformation. Concentrate on what your product has, not what it hasn't got. Then you want to put how to use it. Yes, this may seem obvious to you, but not everyone has seen a whipped soap before or a body butter. Also, if you've named it something other than soap or body butter, you'll need to ensure that you state that here. For example, use this soap like a shower gel. Scoop a generous amount out of the jar and wash it with your body, wash your hair, or use it as a shaving cream. Warnings and additional information, e.g. not for use for children under 3 years of age, etc. This is so the buyer knows exactly who this product is intended for before they buy it. And ingredients. List all of your ingredients identical to your label in order of percentage, highest first. You'll find this list in your CPSR. Allergens are ideally preceded by a star and in bold so that they can be spotted easily. You could also make them a different colour. Lastly, any other information of note, such as a shipping disclaimer, links to shipping and returns information, a link to your FAQ page, any license logos that you use, such as Peter or the Leaping Bunny. And there is your product description. Complete that with your amazing photos and video of the product, and why wouldn't anyone want to buy from you? Include a frequently asked questions page on your website. Even if you're just starting out, you can anticipate the questions that are most likely to be asked, such as, are your products vegan? Do you ship internationally? Are your products edible? Yes, people do ask this. If you clearly link this page on your product description, then it will save you a lot of silly questions via email and social media. The legal stuff. You must have a privacy policy. GDPR cookies opt-in, including California CCPA if selling into the USA, terms and conditions, a returns policy, and shipping information. You must also have a business address and contact details. These things are extra important when selling cosmetics, so don't miss them out. Shopify actually has pre-written templates to help you get started, and you'll find add-on apps for the GDPR, etc. Do a layout for conversion. By conversion, I mean converting customers from browsers to buyers. Customers get bored if they can't find what they're looking for quickly, so put it right in front of them. Avoid slideshows on the front page. 9 times out of 10, the customer won't get past the first one. Use that space as a banner to advertise the item that you want to sell that day. Your front page of the website should be enticing and clearly show what you want them to do on first glance. Have a bit of text about your company, lots of colourful imagery, and very simple and easy to navigate main menu. Create a customer journey with your front page banner and add a link enticing them to look at your products further. Have an email sign-up pop-up. Set the pop-up to around 30 seconds, as too soon will likely mean that they click it away or even leave the site entirely. But after they've seen a bit of your site, they're more likely to enter their details. You can use MailChimp or any other email mailing list company to link to your website for this. Mailing list customers are the easiest and cheapest to convert, so don't leave this out. SEO, very boring, but very necessary. The good news is that if you've signed up with Shopify, can you tell I like Shopify? It's all integrated for you, and all you need to do is scroll to all the meta descriptions and titles and image alt tags and edit the information. SEO is a whole new class in itself, so I'm not going to cover the basics, more than the basics to get you up and running. Make sure that you know your keywords. So I suggest going to a website like Ubersuggest or Keyword Spy, or set up a Google account to find some suggested keywords for your industry. Use the keywords in well-written sentences, don't just pack them in. Write your title and description so that it reads well, including as many keywords as you can without it sounding like a list. Fill in your website meta title and description. If you're on Shopify, this can be found by clicking Online Store and Preferences. Fill in the meta title and description for each product. Scroll to the bottom of each product page to find this if you're using Shopify. Don't change it to names that you call your product, e.g. Unicorn Tears or Marshmallow Dream. For SEO, you need words that are relevant and recognizable to the customer. The customer won't be searching for those words. They'll be searching for things like body butter or fruit-flavoured lip gloss, etc. Fill in your product link title. If it's a bunch of numbers, then you can usually change this to your product name. Again, on Shopify, this is at the bottom of each product page. Write image alt tags. You can click on the images to edit the alt tags. Use keywords that are relevant to the product. This way you will appear on the image searches on Google too. Submit your website to Google. Submit your website to other online search engines and submit it to reputable online directories. Write a blog post regularly with keywords included throughout. If you're stuck for ideas, go to answerthepublic.com and type in whip soap, for example, and pick a question to answer. Use that as the blog title. And the biggest one, your entire website should be well written, full of helpful information and keywords. And any Google ads you run must go to the relevant pages. Whether you're intending to sell on an online marketplace such as social media shops, Etsy, eBay, or Amazon, I would always set up a unique domain website too. Online marketplaces have significant control over how you run your business, and they can affect it negatively with fee increases, payment reserves, rankings, and more. Never have all your eggs in one basket and focus on making your own website the best it can be. That way, if your third-party platform suddenly goes down or suspends your account, you have something else that you've built up and is selling products that isn't reliant on the third party. You're also not beholden to the feedback ratings. So here is a quick pros and cons list for using sites like Etsy, eBay, Amazon, etc. Pros are they put a lot of money into marketing, so that you a lot more money than you can to drive traffic to the site and therefore your brand. They have ready-made tools for adding SEO. It's all ready-made for you and you don't need to pay a subscription fee in most cases. The cons are the traffic they drive isn't just for you. You'll need to work hard to be seen on the platform. The SEO is beholden to their algorithm. They can inflict payment reserves or hold on your payments at any time for any reason. These can affect your cash flow. Bad reviews on sites such as eBay, where seller ratings are affected, can result in your listings being impacted and your business drying up overnight. Trust me, I've been there. I did a video on it. This can be something as simple as bad feedback from a customer who had their item delivered late by Royal Mail or courier. Your products will always be shown in searches against other similar products by other sellers, so you're always with your competition. Basically, what I'm saying is that by all means, set up online marketplace stores. It can help in the beginning to get more eyes on your business, but ultimately you should be setting up your own unique website and working to drive traffic to that, where you have full control and you don't risk your income being put on hold or disappearing overnight. Remember that these companies are companies. Their aim is to make money, and to do that, they need to keep the site safe for buyers and sellers and limit their liability. So there will always be a huge number of actions that they need to take to manage it. They aren't doing it to shadow ban or blacklist or hide your account. Have faith in your business and abilities and set up your website. You won't regret it. So where can you legally sell? Well, the answer is technically anywhere, but with conditions. Every country or group of countries has its own laws and regulations surrounding the sale of cosmetic products, and it's your responsibility to research and find out what you need to do in order to sell these places legally. Rather than go into each one individually, I'm going to point you to a company called ceway.eu. This is one of a few UK and EU-based companies who specialises in worldwide cosmetic regulations. They offer some information on their website and also services to get you fully set up and selling in those countries. The key things to remember when selling in other countries are: do they require a responsible person? Do they require product safety reports? Do they require product registration? What are their labelling requirements? And are the ingredients allowed in that country? For example, a lot of colours that we're allowed to use in cosmetics in the UK are banned for use in the USA by the FDA. Also, do the laws vary between states? For example, in the USA, in the state of California, you must abide by Prop 65, stating any ingredients deemed by the FDA as carcinogenic, put it on the label and put a warning. What are their animal testing policies? It's advised not to sell your products in China, as they still conduct some animal testing on imported cosmetics in some cases, though they are taking steps to eradicate this. Some other things to consider. Since Brexit, shipping products and collecting taxes on sales has become a lot more complicated. So you need to look into this and how to ship and calculate if and what you should be collecting prior to selling. My advice would be to start selling in the UK first, then contact CE Way or a similar company for a quote for selling elsewhere when you have drummed up enough sales. Selling in other countries is quite often expensive, especially if you need to pay for having your products assessed to their standards and to appoint another responsible person. You also need to update your insurance to cover the new area of sales. Dealing with returns and complaints. I know that when you first starting out and don't have much money, the thought of a return, refund, or complaint is quite scary, but try to get out of that mindset. To run a business, you need to be a professional. This doesn't mean losing all personality and being dull. It just means that you need procedures in place for running your business to give the customer a good experience and aid in their journey. Make them feel confident buying from you, so that if they aren't happy, they can return a product. Yes, you will get the odd person trying it on, but overall, you'll find the majority of customers are honest and you won't end up out of pocket. Here are 4 ways to protect yourself. Offer only tracked shipping. Have a shipping disclaimer for delays, etc. on your product pages and shipping info page. Package well to avoid leaks or damage, and use a hygiene tamper-proof seal, cap or shrink band so that you can say that you only accept returns if unopened. With cosmetics, complaints and returns requests must be taken seriously. Offer them a 14-day return window where you would refund the original cost including shipping, but you do not pay the return postage. The product must be unopened in new sellable condition. Once you receive the return, you will process the refund. Any returns at all, especially if the customer has complained, must be logged. Create yourself a returns/complaints log in Excel or Word. Add this to your product's PIF. Whenever you get a return or complaint, log the customer order number, the product name, the date, the issue the customer had, and the resolution that was given. Do not include customer names, addresses, or any customer information in this, as then you would be storing customer data, which gets complicated with GDPR. Leave that for your website to do. Just log the order number, and then you'll be able to find that information if you need it later. If a customer has an allergic reaction and complains, then you need to log this and report it. This is referred to as reporting serious undesirable effects in cosmetics. An undesirable effect from a cosmetic product can arise as a result of an individual allergy or sensitivity. All SU, or serious undesirable effects, forms should be submitted to the serious undesirable effects at beis.gov.uk. Don't be scared to report these in the unlikely event that you need to. So long as you have correctly labelled and registered your products and have a CPSR and PIF in place, and you can show all these documents, it would likely be a case that the customer just didn't read the label or did not know that they have an allergy, but it's very important to record these. So how do you market your products? Well, marketing is literally the hardest part of running a business, but annoyingly the most essential. You won't sell anything unless people know it exists. So how do you get yourself out there? I know you'll all immediately think of social media, going viral on TikTok or Instagram Reels. Maybe you think of Facebook ads. Here is a quick, well-meaning reality check. Yes, there are young entrepreneurs that you see on TikTok who are lucky enough to go viral, and then suddenly you see them packing hundreds of orders and moving into warehouses each week and living their best life. I hate that phrase. These people had a bout of luck. But how much do they really know about business after a few months to a year? Very little. They build an empire very quickly, and 100% of it is reliant on social media. And what if that disappeared overnight? By all means, use social media. It's a very powerful marketing tool, and it is mostly free. But please take the following tips on board to avoid falling into the trap of relying solely on social media and not learning how to run a business successfully and sustainably. I've been in business over 20 years, and before social media, we had to do things a bit differently. Business and marketing is a steep learning curve, so research things and absorb all the knowledge you can. It'll ensure that your business survives in the long term and isn't a one-hit wonder. Here's some marketing tactics and how to use them to their best. So before you do anything, write yourself a marketing plan. This should include a list of all marketing actions that you will take, the call to action or hook that you will have at and on each one, and where it will lead. For example, you might be at a local craft fair and have a printed out QR code on your stall saying scan to claim your free gift. The QR code takes them to an email sign-up form where they get a buy one, get one free or a discount off their purchase at the craft fair then and there. So your marketing action is the craft fair, the call to action or hook is the scanning the QR code, and it leads them to signing up to your mailing list so that you can market to them in future. With social media posts, pick 3 platforms to focus on maximum. As you only have so much time, post regularly, consistently, and include engaging hooks that lead people to take an action, such as signing up to a mailing list, follow you, or comment. Use wording that makes them want to take action, but focuses them on what they get out of it by taking that action. For example, I have a link to a free massage bar recipe for those who sign up to a mailing list, or at least I did. But I don't mention the mailing list, just direct them to click for their free recipe. The mailing list sign-up page will then ask for their email to send it to. You could offer them anything you like, but digital goods are quite a good offering. Influencers. So, in my opinion, not really worth it in most cases. Sorry, influencers. You need to be looking at the ones with the most engagement, not necessarily followers. You want someone who is aligned with your product values and with followers who fall into your target market, who engage with the influencer regularly. So picking someone who purely has a lot of followers rarely gets results. Also, try to work with actual customers. They'll be your biggest cheerleaders and influence their friends and family. Those are the best influencers to have. If anyone asks you for a free products in return for exposure, it's a firm no. Facebook ads, not worth it. Having spoken to a number of social media marketing experts, it's been concluded that you need a fair amount of starting capital to run these. Doing the odd one here and there at a starter level really doesn't yield any results unless you're extremely lucky. You need to be doing A/B testing to see which ads work and which don't, and running them across a large section of target markets and across many days. Unless you have thousands to invest in this, then it's best to focus on cheaper avenues right now and then look at that a bit later down the line. Local Facebook business groups. Most local areas have business networking groups, not ones for specific brands and interesting an industry chat like ours or other suppliers, but a general business networking group for your town. There are also forums for groups of people like mums who are your target market. Get active on these and get chatting. You aren't selling, you're just letting them know who you are and get to know what you do. Local advertising. We're off the internet now, so put your phone down. Get your walking shoes on and go and visit some local shops, garden centres, markets, and places like that with your products. You can sell at a market or craft fair and have a mailing list sign-up sheet and some flyers. You can ask a shop if they'd like to stock your products on either sale or return, wholesale, or rent a shelf deal. Then you can ask local magazines and newspapers for small ads and articles, or even run a competition in one to attract interest to your brand. Then there's other things, thinking outside the box, like local cinema advertising, flyering complementary businesses and destinations with permission, word of mouth via referral discounts, brand decals on your car, business networking events, pop-up shops, radio ads, or you could even host your own event. There's lots of ways to market your business without relying on social media. The very best asset for growth that you have is your friends and family and existing customers. So get sales and recommendations from them to start with and watch it fan out from there. How and when to sell? Well, nowadays, with small businesses and the increasing create urgency tactic, there are different ways to sell your products. You could decide to have your products always available and make them to order. You could decide to make stock and replenish at certain levels, meaning that there's always stock on your website. Or you could adopt the new drop culture. Drop culture has its benefits as it creates that urgency when you launch, but then caps your income, or you risk making more than you'll sell. And then you have to remember that these products have a shelf life. Drops basically mean that you make all of your inventory and then launch it on one day, hoping to sell out on that day or over a couple. You would close your website with a holding page whilst you make the inventory and have a countdown to opening. In the meantime, you market your products like crazy to ensure people will be waiting online to purchase when you launch. Many businesses have done this successfully and continue to do so, but make sure if you do this, you're offering new and exclusive limited edition products or bringing back most requested products to keep the customer interested. Pre-orders is a safer way to do this with products that have a shelf life, but you realistically need to give a date that they will ship and remember that customers don't want to be waiting that long. When you first start out, it may be worth doing a combination of these until you build your audience more. Have a staple range of products available year-round and replenish when they get to a certain level. Then do new product launches on certain dates throughout the year with new exclusive limited edition products. Remember, with the UK, CPSRs are mandatory, and so launches take some money and planning to ensure that you have your new creations approved for sale. However, to save money, you could offer the same scent in different colour options with the same CPSR. This means reporting the new colour options to the portal, but saves you getting a new product safety assessed. And remember your local selling options, as we discussed above, such as local markets and shops. Keeping inventory can be a bit confusing when we are juggling ingredients and finished products. So here is how I find it easiest to do. First, calculate your cost per gram, like you did earlier, and calculate your cost price. Keep these gram costs in a table in Excel for reference. Update with a new row if a new batch changes price. When it comes to calculating inventory value at the end of the financial year, and each time that you stock take, you just need to do the following. Add up the cost value of all of your finished products sitting in stock. Weigh your remaining ingredients and times the grams weight by the weight per gram cost price to get the value of your remaining ingredients inventory. Add up the value of all your containers and labels that aren't yet used but would usually be included in your finished product costs. Total all of the above for your current inventory value. Always do a year-end stock take, depending on when you finish your financial year. And I'd recommend doing one monthly anyway, as this helps to keep on top of your stock and keep it accurate, and gives you the opportunity to check expiry dates, use up stock that is going out of date, and write off any that you may have missed out and can no longer use. Doing a stock take regularly should avoid any wastage. If you want to get serious about inventory, then like I mentioned earlier, I recommend Crafty Base. I've got a whole video on this on my channel here, where you can see how to use it and how it might help you. And I've also got a free trial linked below in my video description. I'm definitely no accountant, like 100%. And I'd highly recommend getting one if you can afford one. Go on a recommendation from someone that you know. It's important to have an accountant that you can talk to and trust. When just starting out, it's up to you how in depth you want to be. But if you're jumping in at the deep end and going for a limited company, then I'd suggest getting an accountant straight away to avoid any mistakes, and signing up for an accounts package like QuickBooks or Xero. This will streamline your accounting and make it much, much, much less of a chore. If you're staying as a sole trader for now, then a simple Excel spreadsheet is probably all that you need at this point for doing your end-of-year self-assessment. If you have a website, then you will have a sales record that you can download, and you'll have access to your statements from PayPal or whichever payment provider you're using. So in Excel, you need to record your purchases for your business and any additional income not shown elsewhere. You can download an app called Dext. I use it but have no affiliation. On which you can upload all of your receipts rather than keeping paper ones. It's much more eco-friendly and it saves piles of paperwork. So long as you have a system for accessing all of your incomings and outgoings, then I would suggest keeping a spreadsheet showing the total of each of these each month. You can even use a copy of our cash flow forecast to input these numbers in so that you have a constant real-time view of how your business is doing. Although not accounting software, this is something Crafty Base can also help with. So how do you grow your business? The key to growing with little to no funding is to do things gradually. Don't try to run before you can walk, and if you can avoid loans, then as I said earlier, then please avoid loans. Start off with a small batch of soap, etc., and sell to friends and family. Reinvest the profits of that into more ingredients and make a larger batch. Sell those to more friends and friends of friends, and invest the money back into more ingredients and possibly doing a market stall of a modest amount of products, aiming to both sell out and gather customer emails for your marketing list. Invest those funds into growing again, and so forth. Small gradual steps will get your name out there and build a sustainable business. You also need to keep your existing customers returning, so make sure that you're always offering something new. Set up a product launch plan for new products and certain intervals, and create a stir about them with your new existing audience way before launch. If you tease your customers with information about a product for weeks before even showing it, tell them what it can do for them and how beneficial it is. When you reveal it, you can add a countdown on the website or social media to get them excited about it and drum up urgency. New products need not be expensive. With a Flexi CPSR, you can have 10 different scents and infinite colour possibilities. So stagger the release of some of the scents to a few at a time. And when you've released all the scents, release those scents in new colour combinations, or for limited editions such as Halloween-themed products, where you make them crazy colours with spooky names and new label designs. When you've exhausted those, you can use the money to invest in your next CPSR for new scents or even a new product type. My advice would be, don't try and do it all and compete with others who have more range. If your USP and branding is strong from the beginning, then you can quite happily focus on one product to start with and generate a sizable income from it. It's less about how much you have and more about how you present it to your target market. And I note this slide does say CPSR like ours. We no longer sell CPSRs, but if you check out my CPSR video, I do tell you where you can buy those. So, as promised, here's the supplier list. There are so many ingredients and CPSR suppliers. Here are just some of the ones I use and ones I know of in other countries. I tend to order from the UK, EU, and USA. You can check the links in the video description on YouTube, as there are a few discounts for a few of these down below. But pause this if you want to take a look at these. And I'll go to the next slide. And then there's some more. There's obviously way more places, so I'll endeavour to create a full list by country to put on the website at some point. For equipment, Amazon is a good shout, along with the above suppliers who also sell various equipment and containers. I've linked to various suppliers for things in various sections of this course, so you can check back on those depending what you want to learn. So my final thoughts, you may have listened to this masterclass and read through this ebook and thought to yourself, that's a lot, and the market is saturated, maybe it's not worth it. My reply to that is yes, it all seems a lot right now, but remember that a lot of this you're just doing once. Once it's done, all you need to do is maintain, add new products and update old ones. Once you know the regulations, you'll find that compiling PIFs and reporting on the portal takes a matter of minutes. Plus, anything you don't understand or want help with, that's why I'm here. As for the market being saturated, if everyone thought like that, there would be no businesses. Nowadays, it's increasingly difficult to come up with an original idea. And remember, there are millions of people in the UK alone. All of them use bath and body products, I hope. Do you really think that there is another business in your town doing the same thing as you? That they could cater to everyone in the area? No, very unlikely. In a market sector that has a lot of small businesses, some will succeed and some will fail. There will be new ones opening while others are closing down. Everyone's at a different stage in the journey, and everyone will have their own unique offering. The key to being successful in this business is to be authentically yourself. There is only one you. Don't try to be a carbon copy of someone else that you see being successful, as you'll be on the fast track to being unsuccessful. They'll always be 10 steps ahead of you. You'll have no USP. Concentrate on what makes you different. What aren't they doing that your target market would love? How can you stand out with your business ethos, branding, and even the way your customers buy your products? How can you market yourself to convey your brand as you want to be seen? I'll leave you with this. Before going back to the beginning of this ebook and starting your journey, decide on your unique selling point. Really think about it. Go beyond the common answers of yourself, customer service, eco-friendly, etc., and think deeper. What do you stand for? What are your values? What should people buy from you? Why should people buy your products from you? How can selling whip soap, for example, solve a problem? Are you about promoting body positivity with your brand? Do you stand for self-care? Do you make products with essential oils to help soothe and calm anxiety? Do you want to help those with depression? Or simply create products to bring a smile to people's faces, to promote positivity in general? Or are you a mum that wants to create mum pamper gifts? Maybe you want to target children and teens with extra colourful, neon, bright, interactive products. Whatever it is, think about it. Getting your USP right can create a really successful business, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you all succeed. Good luck, everybody. I'm sorry about the typos in this course. As I said, it was originally written as a whip soap ebook. I've made it more thorough and included things for all skincare. I hope it was helpful. If there's anything you feel I've missed out, then by all means leave a comment below, email me, go join my Patreon, subscribe to my YouTube channel, send me a message on Instagram, all those things. And yeah, I'm here if you need me. And yeah, use the timestamps at the bottom of this video to skip back and forth to the bits that you need help with. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.